Welcome back. From the art of the deal to sealing the deal, an historic summit for President Trump and Kim Jong-un. Our next guest was the first American in history to study at a North Korean university. Joining me right now is the author of See You Again in Pyongyang, Travis Jeppesen. Travis, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, let me kick it off with your reaction to what has taken place, this historic summit between President Trump and Kim Jong-un. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's wonderful that the summit happened, and the outcome seems to be successful. I was able to read the joint statement, and, you know, it does seem sort of vaguely worded, but I view it as sort of a first step in what will hopefully be a long and fruitful diplomatic, rapprochement between the two countries.
Well, we want to hear your experience because, you know, not much has been discussed this morning about human rights and what really takes place as a norm in North Korea. In your travels to North Korea, you got to meet and understand the North Korean people. What do they really think about the United States? And give us a sense of normal day life in North Korea.
Yeah, well, I think that, you know, the North Korean people are surprisingly very well educated, and they're very savvy, surprisingly, about what the outside world is like. I noticed increasingly that they realize the necessity for opening their country up so that they can engage more with the outside world. And I think Kim Jong-un probably realizes that too, which is why he's been making these historic steps. Of course, there is a certain amount of distrust towards the United States. If we look back in history a little bit, you know, from the North Koreans' perspective, it was the United States who, in 1958, violated the terms of the armistice agreement that put an end to the fighting of the Korean War by installing nuclear weapons on the Korean peninsula. More recently, of course, there have been the annual military exercises that the United States participates in with the South Korean army, in which they make it quite clear, you know, within full visibility of the North Korean border, that nuclear devices would be deployed very early on in the conflict. So the North Koreans really have been living under the threat of nuclear annihilation by the United States for several decades now. And so I think they're really happy that some steps towards denuclearization have been made. And I think the question now for the North Koreans is whether they can trust these assurances that are being made by President
Very quickly,
Trump.
let me get Lindsay Bell in here very quickly.
Just quickly, can you talk about the state of the middle class there? I've heard that people make $35 a month, but you talk about the growth you're seeing there.
Right. You see more and more flagrant displays of wealth on the streets of Pyongyang in particular. There is a burgeoning middle class there. And in the last few years, Kim Jong-un has really loosened economic regulations and so made it quite easy for North Koreans to do business, to engage in profit-making activities. But I think they realize there's a limit to that because of the isolation of the country. So by, you know, being able to engage more with the outside world, they will be able to lift sanctions and continue these activities on a higher level.
Fascinating stuff. Travis, thank you. Travis Jeppesen there.